This is the video recording for image and graphics representations exercise. For this lab, the visual part, I've done two files. The first file is just a basic exercise, and the second file is some adjustments to the exercise to try and finish the extensions. So for the first file, okay. Right. As you can see, I try to load an image onto my sketch. By doing that, I defined a variable called tulip, and it's the type of P image. Initialized it in setup function here, and in the draw function, I called image so I can display it onto my sketch. As you can see, there are 3 squares drawn onto the sketch as well. The difference between the first square and the second square, apart from its position, is the difference of adding close to the end shape function. Without the close, there isn't a line between the last vertex to the first vertex. And the third square, I've done some texture mapping using texture mode and texture function. With texture mode, it's a bit more easier to understand when it's normalized, because I can use any number between 0 and 1 to control the position to where I want it to be in the shape. Whereas if I don't normalize it, I have to remember the actual size of the image and try to think and calculate the pixel number that I want to map to the square, which will make it very confusing for me. So here, the vertex, apart from its position, I also need to add 2 more numbers, any number between 0 and 1, that I want to map it into the square. So that's basically the first file. For the second file, I'll run it first just to see what it looks like. Okay, you can see the 2 triangles will move to my cursor at a constant speed, and it will stop at where my cursor is. But why it's going further and coming back, it's because I've done this sketch, this code in 3D. So that's actually the z-axis. Okay, let's go back to the code. In order to make the image move, I need speed, so that's speed x, y, z to each axis. And I need a vector. I want to try something new instead of just adding numbers into the vertex function. I want to use a vector variable. And I need a position to calculate the next location of the image. Okay, so after initializing everything in the setup function, I used the array type for the p vector instead of adding another new variable name every time I want a new vertex. And I did use an array and use an integer to control the size of the array. Now, this is a draw function, and I've done 2 things in the draw function. First is calculate the speed. Second is drawing the shape. Because I want the image to move towards the cursor, so I need a mouse X and mouse Y. Okay. In order to let the image move to the cursor and end at the same time, I divide the number, the distance of the actual location position and the mouse position by a same number, so the X and Y will arrive at the same time. And I wasn't very sure how to control the Z-axis with using the cursor, so I set it either to 1 or to 0 when the X hits the cursor. After calculating all that, it's time to draw the shape. I want to experiment with different modes of making shape, so I chose triangles, which is drawing 2 triangles with 6 points. And that's it. Map it, and every time my cursor or my mouse changes its location, the image will follow. Okay, so that's my lab 1, the visual part.